Let's discuss that very point now with Jennifer Murtazashvili, who is the founding director of the Center of Governance and Markets. She's also an associate professor at the International Affairs of International Affairs at the University of Pittsburgh. Welcome to the program. Jennifer, that point about Russian troops going in and the possibility that down the line Kazakhstan is throwing away the sovereignty of the country.
Absolutely. So technically, the CSTO has a very small mandate here. It's a peacekeeping mission. So, sovereignty issues are not technically at question here. I want to be very clear about that. But symbolically, this is enormous. This is the first time that this has been invoked to quell an internal conflict. And the government of Kazakhstan has shown that it is not equipped to deal with this issue on its own. Even neighboring China has raised questions about this, calling this an internal matter, asking why Kazakhstan's own military couldn't deal with this issue on its own. So the issue, I think, for Kazakhstan is quite symbolic. You're asking Russian troops to come into your own country and potentially shoot and kill, as President Tokayev said, citizens of Kazakhstan. That the optics for the people of Kazakhstan are not very good, given what's happened over the past several days.
And your reaction to that shoot-to-kill order from the president?
I mean, I think this is devastating for the country, given the economic and political freedoms that people have enjoyed. Let's be clear, Kazakhstan is not a democracy. It has not been headed that direction. But Kazakhstan had what we call a multi-vector foreign policy that allowed it to balance its regional neighbors against one another. It had a kind of political and economic openness that allowed it to do business with just about anyone around the world. And there were more political freedoms, I think, that we saw in Kazakhstan than we saw, for example, in neighboring Russia. What this tells us is that the president is not going to negotiate. He's made that very clear. The protesters had very concrete demands, at least in some cities. I don't want to generalize, but in many cities there were concrete demands. These protests were not new. They have been going on for several years. And President Tokayev in the past has actually responded to these protests. He said, yes, the government has to institute reforms. The government has to listen to citizens more. He even proposed having local elections to deal with these issues. And if President Tokayev had actually just made good on many of the promises he had made to the people of his country, I don't think we'd be having these protests right now.
Now, the world is busy with many things at the moment, of course, COVID. And this country has suddenly leapt into the headlines. Why should the world care about what's happening in a country so far away, especially from the point of view of resources?
Certainly. I mean, Kazakhstan has vast oil and natural gas resources. Most of these flow to Russia and to China. We're going to see contestation over those resources. 50% of the world's uranium is located in Kazakhstan. So, those uranium markets, as Europe, for example, turns towards clean energy or turns towards nuclear power, Kazakhstan's role is going to be even more prominent here. And then, of course, we have the issue of Russia and Russia's geopolitical role. And I think, Russia was not necessarily looking at this right now as an opportunity. They were focused primarily on Ukraine. But instability in Central Asia, we're seeing growing instability in a region that had been largely stable. As your correspondent noted, there's been conflicts between Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan recently. We look at the withdrawal of the United States from Afghanistan and what that means. The issue of Xinjiang, of course, is is on everyone's mind. And of course, Kazakhstan has its own internal issues. There's a significant Uyghur population inside of Kazakhstan. There's growing Kazakh nationalism. How will this be met? Will we see a rise in civil conflict? So I think there's really fertile ground for us to be concerned on multiple levels.
And just very quickly, what role could Turkey play here, and how do you see Turkey's role?
So Turkey, I hate to say it, but, Turkey's role, I think, here is not as significant as one might think. Symbolically, Turkey has played a role in people's minds, but this organization, the foreign ministers are meeting in Istanbul, this Turkic Council, next week. But Turkey hasn't played a significant military role or a security role or really a foreign policy role until very recently. recently. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of role, how Turkey aligns with Russia on this question. I think really the cards are in Russia's hands right now more than anyone else.
Really great to get your analysis. Jennifer Murtazashvili from the University of Pittsburgh. Really appreciate it. Thank you.